Hey everybody, Raul here for Bass Musician Magazine, and today we have an extraordinary event. We have this exclusive opportunity to get together with Labex Funk Project, and with me on one half we have Kynion, Lanier, and I'm doing the best I can, folks. I've got a cold. Pablo, Batista, Jake Brightman, Daniel Gonzalez, and of course Michel, Labex, Labaki. And on the other side, you have Phillippe Dib, their producer. And we're on the verge of a very exciting release and a very exciting project. And so it's so hard to tell even where to start. But let's start with the group. How did you guys get together? And tell us a little bit about this whole project.
Raul, how are you?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this beautiful interview. We really appreciate it. And I personally appreciate all the support that I was getting from Bass Musician Magazine for the past decade.
Yes.
Remember 2013, I met you at the NAMM show when I was featured on the cover page of Bass Musician Magazine. So, And here we are again after 10 years with a new project.
Yes.
Thank you, Raul.
My pleasure.
This project, I was never planning for it because I was living in my home country, Lebanon, and I moved to the States 3 years ago. And this is where the project started in Lebanon with my hometown musicians, brothers, and it was the Labex Funk Project. But when I moved to the States, I had to get the project together again, and I needed new musicians, and I was new to Philly. I knew no one, and here Kynion has a short story he can tell you about it.
Yes.
We met.
Yes. It was pretty crazy. So 10 years ago, we had a mutual friend who was there's an opportunity. Yeah, Dennis. He said there's an opportunity in Lebanon, and I'm like, okay, I'll take a listen. And it was through Michel, and we were speaking through Skype, and I just thought it was just like a conversation. I didn't know how real it was until I Skyped in into a meeting with managers in advertising. It was legit. I'm like, oh wow, this is a legit gig.
Yeah.
And at the time, I just had my second child, just born a month ago, so I couldn't go. But we stayed in touch 10 years straight, and then we became Facebook friends. And I see him in Philadelphia 3 years ago. I'm like, yo, bro, what's up? You in Philly? Let's connect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it started, about 3 years ago.
Yeah, that was Kynion. And when I moved here, Dennis Guevara, the piano player. Hello, Dennis. I'm always grateful to this person. Yeah, he reached out to me and got me in touch with Pablo. And that was a milestone for me here in Philly, to meet Pablo, and he helped me a lot, to know more musicians. I met Dan through Pablo and Jake through Kynion, and I started to put this project together. And Philip, he's the producer now.
Mm-hmm.
He used to play the drums in the band back in Lebanon. He was the drummer. This guy, we're gonna talk about him later. He's something else. And he's 20 years old, so that's the remarkable thing about him.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, he has a good story to tell you later. And and thank you, Pablo, for everything, the support you gave me. And now the guys are here, Jake, Dan, and we're trying to put all this thing together, and we did it. Now the team is ready. We have the mastering engineer, the studio engineer, the producer, Philip, the band. Now I'm working to get the manager for the band or for the future, because we want to launch the album maybe in June.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're launching the single with you guys, Bass Musician Magazine. So yeah, that's
excellent.
Short story.
Excellent. And what I will ask, because as you mentioned, we spoke over a decade ago, and we were focusing a lot on the technique, the stapping that you're doing, and this is a reach away from that, because now you're into the realm of funk, and funk is its own world. I mean, every time we mention funk, everybody thinks Bootsy and Larry Graham and some of these heavy hitters. What made you go towards funk particularly?
That's a tough question, because I come from a multicultural country, and
Mm-hmm.
I was throughout my first years of bass as a bass player, I was a sessionist, and I used to play with a lot of musicians from all over Europe and the Middle East. So I was so exposed to Turkish music, Eastern Europe music, Greek music, Spanish music, Oriental music. Like I was bombarded with all those cultures. And my first two records, if you listen to them, you can see that the identity was not there yet. You know, I was like in the lab, in the research, in the cuisine. You know, trying to find out who am I on the bass. And that's not easy to find, because when you want to find your identity, it's like there's a fight between your intellect and your emotional part. So like, what I love, what should I do, what I love. And I noticed that funk was a major part in my life. In everything I used to play, there was the funk. But it was always mixed with something else. It was like world music, funk, fusion, funk Greek, funk Spanish, funk Oriental, funk, you know. When I moved to the States, I was inspired by the States, by the environment of the States, and by this pop funk new soul sound. And I think it's a way to evolve as well, because I'm evolving as a human, and I felt that this project is the spot where I can play without thinking. Like I can play as a second nature. And when I met the guys, and the boost they gave me as well in this music, because Kynion, he has the funk in his blood, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, indeed.
And Jake is a funk player, and Dan are all like, they have it in their blood. And this is what I felt, hey, I want to continue with this project. This is the single, we did it right now. It was amazing, the output is amazing. The energy of the band is amazing. I always emphasize on the idea that it's not Labex, it's not me, it's us. Without them, I can do shit, you know?
Yeah.
This is how it is, you know, everyone has his input, even in recording, like, you know, Kynion does his thing, Pablo does his thing, Jake, Dan.
Yeah.
This is how it is, yeah.
It's an interesting balance, because if you look at the five of you, technically speaking, three of you are percussion. So it's a very heavy percussion-based group, because the bass fits in percussion, but it also has its melodic tendencies. But also what I noticed, again, in some of the videos, Pablo, I'm seeing you play congas and cajon, so that adds a Latin twist to it. So now we have an even further evolution of funk, where there's a little bit of a Latinization, but it's not so percussion heavy that I'm not noticing, again, the vocals and the guitar work. So you've got a nice, you know, balance there, even though it's got a really heavy footprint. It's very stable with that heartbeat, that thump, thump, thump that you get because of the percussion. Of course, there's always a special relationship between bass players and percussionists, because you feed off of each other. That's kind of the gimme. That's what everybody always, you know, takes away. But Jake, I'm also curious about the guitar work, you know. How are you adapting to fit in? Because again, it has a special approach when it comes to funk.
Absolutely. I think one of the really special things about playing with this group particularly is that it's a lot of choosing what space to take, right? Because you never want to overpower anything, and especially with guys like these, right? Everyone kind of has their own place, and it's fun. It's fun to choose those moments where it can, you know, bring the big guitar, or kind of hold back more when, you know, things are getting too crazy. But it's fun.
Nice. And Pablo, with the congas and the cajon, how did you choose to use those particular elements? Because I know it is a question of choice.
I mean, I basically work with the arrangement of the song. So although there are Latin instruments, the grooves are very poppy, R&B-ish kind of elements that I, you know, depending on the song and the artist. But this is, you know, kind of like R&B-ish funk approach to the music. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
So that's how I, you know, depending on the arrangement in the song, that's where I, you know, how I play.
Gotcha.
And that's the fun part, in the recording. Like when I was sitting with Pablo and he was trying to try things, and you know, so like even frequencies doesn't hit, or like what type of sound it blends. So and I respect that so much, because like percussion is a wide variety, so you need to know what to choose from all those tools. When I look at them, it's like, oh my God, 150 instrument, you know, like you need to be like, you need to have the not the intelligence or the technique, like the feel of it, like the blues, like the blues music. You have to feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like even
find a pocket.
Yeah, find it. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Dan, I'll ask this because when you have more than you've got this much percussion, does it affect how you're playing your drums because you need to leave space for the other percussive elements as well? So how are you adapting?
Well, you know, we were talking about pocket, right? For me, thinking about this group, it's a matter of balancing pocket groove with the virtuosity, right? Because we get a chance to play out, right? But to have the control, to be able to find where our voices are going to fit, like Jake was saying, and keep a pocket. If Pablo's here, you know, I have to play more pocket, and we'll all play more pocket. If Pablo's not here, then we can approach it a little busier, you know. But it's playing from the heart also, not just from the head, you know, playing from the heart and feeling the groove so that people move.
Absolutely. Well, and Phillippe, let's talk a little bit about your producer's hat. How has your interaction, again, you started with drums. What role are you involved with this big release? What's in the works there?
First, thank you so much for having me, guys. It's such an honor for me, Michel, and the band. Really appreciate it. The biggest challenge was trying to keep Michel's style. You know, as he said, we come from a multicultural background of music, and there's a difference between the generations between me and Michel. So
I'm 45, he's 28.
Yeah, so the musical background is a bit different, and the challenge was to keep the style, Michel's style in a way, and add this new touch to the music, like Pablo said as well, like R&B-ish, soul. You know, it is funk, but it's not like the fast funk with techniques and the busyness, you know. So that was my input, if you want. Yeah, it was a bit tricky, but fun at the same time. You know, sharing ideas. Let's do this groove. Let's add this bass line. Oh, it's a bit busy. Let's leave space for other instruments. So, yeah.
And it was challenging for me, you know, Raul, because I come from a technical background on the bass. And you have to hey, Labex, hold your horses the whole time, you know, hold your horses, your horses, And Phillippe was this person on top of my head. Hey, Labex, hold your horses, you know.
Yeah. The first thing we had to agree on is the tempo, you know. So at first I was okay, if we're gonna start making the song, 100 BPM is the maximum we're gonna reach for now. so yeah.
There you go. I don't also want to forget, Kynion, you're a powerhouse of a voice, but you're holding your own all by yourself against all these other guys. They're putting out a lot of sound. You're quite capable of it, from what I heard. So you're doing that. Do they ever add any backup vocals to help boost you up a little bit?
They do. Michel comes in sometimes, and Jake as well. So they do help me sometimes. But I think what makes it work for us is that opportunities are given for that. You know what I mean? For each of us to do our thing in our, whether it's a live performance or even in the session, as you can hear, there's a lot of breakdowns, you know what I mean, where Pablo takes some places. There's a breakdown for the vocals. You know, there's the intro of the song is, you know, Jake and Pablo doing their thing, you know what I mean? So you have this thing where everybody gets a moment in it, you know what I mean? And that makes it great overall.
Nice. Well, and as you were mentioning, the plans for the future of Funk Love is coming up real soon. Tell me a little bit more about what's in the works, touring, album.
Yeah, now you guys are going to launch the single in January. And I think, because me and Phillippe, we did a meeting 2 days ago, and we did put a deadline for the album. The album will be entitled Picky Fingers, Labex Funk Project. And I think it should be launched in June 2024, and the tour should start by the end of summer, I think.
Okay.
Next year. Yeah. that's the plan for now. So next week I'm going to Phillippe. He's in Montreal, sitting in the studio. Keep on working and working and working.
Nice. And if people want to know where to look, because I know there's going to be a lot of excitement, where's the best place that people should try to find out when things are exactly happening?
Yeah, we have our Instagram channel, Labex Funk Project. I have my YouTube channel, Michel Labaki. I have my website, Michel Labaki, and there's like a Labex Funk Project section in it. And yeah, they can find us. It's very easy. And we have a gig on the 29th of December, which is at Lafayette Bar.
Nice.
Jazz in Easton. It's going to be a big show. It's going to be a beautiful funk show, featuring Pablo Batista as well. Yeah, we're going to have fun.
Very nice. Very nice. And any last things, gentlemen, that you'd like to add before we head out of here?
Yes, I would like to, of course, thank my endorsers, Fodera, Aguilar, Lace and Bassware, Groove Gear, Jay, and Raul, of course. I would love to thank Brain Studios, the mastering engineer. He's always like behind all our work. Eli, he's gonna be our stage engineer, coordinator. Charlie from Canada, Charles Musa, he does all the visuals and all like the look and feel and like related to the band. And of course, I want to thank you guys for everything.
Thank you.
And yeah, I hope I didn't forget anyone, but if I did, I love you guys.
There you go. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking time to bring this unique event. So many people all together at once from all kinds of parts of the world, technically, from Canada to the East Coast to sunny Las Vegas. Folks, you've seen them here. Labex Funk Project and Phillippe on Bass Musician Magazine.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Peace.